Irvine, California, tech hub, master-planned paradise, and neighbor to the east of the ever-famous Newport Beach. But in 2025, with sky-high housing prices in an ever-changing world, is Irvine still worth moving to? Whether you're eyeing a job at a tech giant, raising a family, or just chasing the SoCal dream, stick around. We'll be breaking down the real pros, cons, and everything you need to know about Irvine, California. And don't forget, later on in the video, we're going to give you a bonus tip that can help anyone who's thinking about moving to Irvine, California. Let's get started. So given that it is 2025, I'd say one of the things that I've really noticed over the last, I'd say 10 years in terms of Irvine and how it has changed is that, 10 years ago, Irvine and maybe some other cities that offer a lot of the same things that Irvine has that, maybe even were more expensive than Irvine 10 years ago. I'm thinking Laguna Niguel here. Now, Irvine really has that premium, right? It's really become just this city that everyone wants, and the prices show it. It's definitely one of the more expensive cities in Orange County, either the third or fourth most expensive city, depending on, the month. Yeah. Obviously it's always going to be less. Well, I shouldn't say always because no one can predict the future. But as of right now, Newport and Laguna blow it out of the water. But then Irvine is kind of like on its own.
Neck and neck with Dana Point, which is another coastal city.
So do you want to talk about the price and whether or not you think it's worth it in 2025 to invest in Irvine?
So price is high. It's definitely a premium over the median price point of Orange County for sure. It's got that notoriety around the world, right? So obviously Irvine, whatever they've done to promote themselves, kudos to you, because everyone knows about Irvine now, which blows my mind because we went to UC Irvine. No one knew what Irvine was at the time when I went to school there. But now it's like, let's say we actually went on a trip to London and someone asked where we were from. And I said, oh, we're from Orange County. And they said, well, I've been to Irvine before. Is it near there? Again, blowing my mind that Irvine has become more notable than Orange County itself. But that's just kind of this magnet that Irvine has become. People just know about it. And looking at the metrics of our town, looking at the reach outs that we've had, people really want to come here. They're really interested in Irvine itself. So getting back to your question of whether or not it's worth it, it definitely is because it's got that momentum. It's just people really are very interested in Irvine for the various attributes that it has, but people love it.
Yeah, and before we talk about those attributes, don't forget to stay tuned for the little bonus tip that we're going to give. And also comment down below, where are you coming from? Where are you thinking about moving from? We always like to hear where everyone's coming from. So let's talk about why. Why do people love Irvine so much? Obviously, you can, do as much marketing as you can, but if the thing behind it isn't a true thing, it's not going to work, right? So whoever does the marketing for Irvine, they've done a good job getting the word out, but then people come here and they're like, yeah, you're actually speaking the truth. So one of the things I would definitely say about Irvine, it is the center of Orange County, not only the geographic center, but also the business center of Orange County. So that makes it very convenient.
Super convenient. Yeah, it's like, if you look at a map of Orange County, Irvine's pretty much at the very center of it. It has two major freeways that run right through Irvine, in fact, intersect at the Irvine spectrum. So it's just very convenient. So before we continue, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Sean Dezad.
And I'm Courtney Dezad.
And we're licensed realtors here in the state of California. And if you're watching this channel, you might be thinking, wow, Sean, I love Orange County. I love the blue skies. I love the perfect weather. I can't wait to move here. Now, the problem is I'm not local. I may be out of state. I may be even out of the country, so I don't know what to do. And I totally get that. That's when you reach out to us, because that way we can be your boots on the ground, finding out specifically what you're looking for and find those homes that really could be the right fit for you. We could actually do virtual tours of the homes as well as the neighborhoods, really giving you a feel what's out there. So when you do come out here, your time is spent super efficiently. So what you want to do is then give us a call or shoot us a text.
Yes, that number is a cell phone, so you can call us or text us, or you can use WhatsApp if you're outside the country.
And again, as far as, I know we're going to the next part is like jobs and stuff like that. Jobs are very plentiful here, a variety of different industries. And there's different pockets of Irvine that have different emphasis, right? So for instance, the Irvine Spectrum that I mentioned before, not only do you have a big retail job presence there because there's a huge mall there, but second is that it is actually a huge hub for headquarters. So a lot of those kind of jobs, those C-suite type of jobs are there. And then by John Wayne Airport, there's actually a lot, even though John Wayne Airport isn't part of Irvine, it borders it. And so there's a lot of office buildings that are right next to John Wayne Airport. So a lot of professional services are there, for instance. And then of course you have UC Irvine, which is a top tier university in Irvine itself. And then so you have all that R&D facilities all throughout Irvine as well. So again, just a ton of variety of different industries. You have hospitals here too. There's so many different things here that Irvine is, we talk about the orange bubble. Irvine has its own Irvine bubble within the orange bubble itself.
Yeah, and I would say Irvine, not only is it convenient because it's the economic center as well as the geographic center, but also it is so well planned.
Yeah.
It makes everything about living in Irvine so convenient. I mean, like Sean said, you get into this bubble when you live in Irvine where you don't want to go 5 minutes away from your house because everything you need is 5 minutes away from your house.
So basically, and like to emphasize that even further, like when you talk about everything's 5 minutes away, it feels like wherever you go, because it's the whole master plan, this is all master plan, you're going, there should be a grocery store right about here. And there is. There's strip malls all over the place that has the inevitable grocery store, like CVS pharmacy, like some restaurants, maybe a gas station, and there's a bunch of those like all over the place within very close proximity of residential establishments where you're going, okay, this is very, very convenient. And on top of that, we jokingly call Irvine the land of 10,000 parks because you're going, well, there should be a park right about here. And there is. It's just super incredibly convenient. And again, a lot of South Orange County has taken their cues from Irvine because they've kind of built something similar. But Irvine is the granddaddy that kind of really started this all.
You said there might be a gas station there. Actually, I would argue that Irvine doesn't have that many gas stations. And it made me always say, Irvine, you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. Because on the flip side, Irvine can be very sterile. People can come to Irvine and be like, they just can't handle just how much it reminds them of, I don't know, the Stepford Wives or something like that.
Which was based off of Irvine.
Well, that's
the rumor.
The rumor, yeah. I don't know if that's true, but
it feels true.
It does.
It feels true.
Well, just from coming from somebody like my perspective. So I am from San Diego. I feel like San Diego definitely has more, it's just more cute, it's more charming, it feels more eclectic. When I first moved to Irvine, I found it rather depressing. That being said, I absolutely love Irvine now, so I guess it is the Hotel California. So
or you could say it's like what the Stockholm Syndrome needs to be renamed to the Irvine Syndrome.
I know, because going back to that convenience, Irvine is so convenient, and it's just nice. Like, it is nice. It's very convenient. It's nice. There's parks everywhere.
It's predictable.
It's
you're
predictable.
going, you can just go, it should be this way, and it is. And then, and again, for certain neighborhoods or whatever, like if you're in different cities, of course, like one city could be, one street could be one way, and there's another street could be completely the opposite. And Irvine's it's getting gradually nicer or not less nice depending on.
Is there a less nice?
Well, more ritzy. I mean, there's definitely
more ritzy,
urban. Yeah. So it's.
But even the older parts of Irvine, I wouldn't call them not nice.
That's true.
I mean, ask Will Ferrell. He's from Irvine. See what he said about Irvine.
He does seem like a byproduct of Irvine. Irvine definitely shaped his personality.
For sure. But then let's talk about, okay, so we're talking about the planning. That does come with HOAs. It might come with Mello-Roos, which Sean will talk about. And then before we do that, though, don't forget, we will be giving you a bonus tip later on. And also comment below if you are interested in Irvine, what is the neighborhood or neighborhoods that you're most interested in?
Or where are you coming from? Do you come from a master plan community like Irvine? Or you're going, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah. Okay, so now Sean, go into the Mello-Roos, the HOAs, all that stuff.
I like how you're just running me through this. But these are actually really important factors, right? Because obviously Irvine, where I talked about, is pricey. But at the same time, there are other layers of cost that you can tack on top of that. Not only just as a sales price, but inevitably when someone reaches out, we're obviously having that conversation and, wondering, okay, do you want newer construction, are you fine with an older home? And we say older homes, like stuff that's built in the 1970s, 1980s kind of thing. But newer constructions, let's say post 2010, like as an idea. And so any of the newer stuff, you're going to have more, you're going to have what they call, I wouldn't say you're going to. You have a good chance of what we call Mello-Roos. And so basically, you have your property tax rate in Orange County, which is about 1.1% of the assessed value of the home. But then on top of that, if you're in a newer construction, anything really built, I'll say before, anything built post 2000 is fair game to being potentially having Mello-Roos, and that's to fund new infrastructure, new roads, schools, fire stations, that kind of stuff. So when those are being built, they obviously need to pull that money from somewhere, and of course they're going to pull it from you. Mello-Roos is this tack on to the property taxes, and it can vary dramatically depending on the development and how old the development is. Either Mello-Roos is gone, if there was it in the first place, or it's about to fall off. But then obviously something is built in 2023, 2024, Mello-Roos is very likely in Irvine to be on it, and it could be just a very dramatic difference as far as what that is per year and how long it sticks for. It's about typically 20 to 25 years. Of course, that's always increasing with the newer developments. For instance, Rancho Mission Viejo, I think it's 40 years that it sticks on. So that's one of those things where when we're having that conversation and let's say we pinpoint some homes that are interesting for you, I would give you, okay, this property is subject to Mello-Roos, as well as this is how much it is per year. And as far as HOA dues, of course, Irvine, there's a couple pockets that don't have HOAs, but the vast majority of Irvine does. And it's a pro and a con, right? So like some people really like the consistency, like how we were talking about before, the consistency of the HOAs where the lawns are all kept, the houses are in pretty reasonable, consistent condition, that kind of stuff. They all kind of have a fairly uniform look to them. Some people may hate that. I know that you actually hated that initially. It was just everything was like one of 4 different floor plans and a different shade of beige. Now, but over time you're kind of going, okay, well, it at least is nice that you don't have like a shack next to a McMansion kind of thing. So that's one of those things where some people like it, some people don't. So depending on what you're looking for, that's why we would have the conversation to direct you to, okay, if you like HOAs, Irvine's really good for that. And then on top of that, with the HOA dues, you may have 1 or 2 HOA dues depending on where you are. So Irvine is divided up into these, what they call villages, like over 20 villages in Irvine. These sub-communities of Irvine have community pools, tennis courts, that kind of stuff. So you pay HOA dues for that. And then you also have, depending on where your property is located, maybe you might have a subdivision where you have it for that, particularly if you have condos or townhomes, because they're covering structure and potentially some utilities. So we would give you all that information so you're taking into account not just obviously what your mortgage payment would be, but also what's your Mello-Roos fee, what's your HOA dues, and everything like that.
So now you've made it this far, let's give you the bonus tip. So
Yeah.
what is the bonus tip related to purchasing a home in Irvine in 2025?
In 2025, we're seeing that there's a lot more inventory hitting the market. We're not quite at pre-COVID levels, but since COVID took place, inventory has just dropped dramatically. And it was very frustrating for buyers to buy and honestly sellers to sell because those sellers are very likely to be buyers. So it was this very frustrating situation where it was a super hot seller's market. Things would be going off the market, like going to escrow within a week, super fast with tons of offers on it, all this crazy stuff. Now we're getting into more of a balanced market where there's homes that are nearing the quantity of homes near pre-COVID levels, where it just gives you more options. Because a lot of times people had to settle for whatever was available. Now it's like, okay, there are homes that could actually check off all the boxes for you. And it's not this insatiable feeding frenzy that you're getting into this crazy game of waiving all these contingencies and way high overbids and all that stuff. Not to say that doesn't happen on maybe a case-by-case basis, but in general, the market is much more reasonable and it's just more balanced. And for the first time in years, we actually have something of a balanced market, which is fantastic.
So I guess the tip is that if you thought it was hopeless, it might actually be an opportunity where you could possibly get what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And that could actually change, obviously. For now, there's actually a good amount of inventory. But, as we know, that can definitely change. So right now is a great opportunity if you're looking for something of a balanced market. We're actually finally in it. And remember, we are licensed realtors here in the state of California. So as much as we love making these videos, what we love more is to help you with your real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, which one do you use when you give us a call or shoot us a text?
Yes, that number is the cell phone, so you can call us or text us, or you can use WhatsApp if you're outside the country.